here for the GO program, sponsored by Hotchkiss. And we have one of the attendees, and his name is Leonard Birdsall. I would have never remembered that name. Looked at watched or listened to some of the podcasts that we did involving the Hotchkiss School. We had 4 of the alumni here on the show, and we're so glad to have them. I didn't expect such a grand place such as the Hotchkiss School. I mean, it's just amazing. How many acres is this?
But I can tell you there's a lake here that we use. It's got to be at least 30, 40 acres at least. It's in a very affluent area in Connecticut, and affluent occupants that came there.
Yeah, the people that go to the
Yes, yeah. Very, very much so. In fact, I've been told the tuition is like $77,000 a year.
Yeah, my wife looked it up.
That's right, yeah.
While we were driving up here, I didn't realize it was that much. I mean, the Hotchkiss School, they're awesome folks, and we've been graced by some of the attendees of the GO program. It's a program started back in the 60s by Father
Kern, the David P. Kern, and we're here to honor him and pay tribute to him. And this was a reverend gentleman that took no less than 200 students, minority, inner city, ghetto kids, and brought us through this program. And the people that finished the program basically went on to very prestigious colleges, with scholarships. So he did this during the 60s. We're talking about 65, 69 was the first class. During that period, there was a lot of racial strife going on in the cities. We had Malcolm X assassinated. We had Martin Luther King assassinated. Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. All during this time we were here, in the schools. The Bloody Sunday, the March on Selma.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and also, the Civil Rights Act was enacted during this time. Right, and they had the affirmative action through that Civil Rights Act. So there were a lot of people that were pissed off, that were mad because minorities were coming to a place like this, but we were, what's the word? We were shielded from all of that. When we got here, all we did was study, We showed that we could learn the curriculum here, just like the affluent students that went here, We showed we could do the work, we could, pass.
You could compete with it. Right.
Exactly. And there were a lot of adverse, people in the community out here that really didn't want us here.
Very little has changed since that time. I think it's a little bit more prolific now than it was.
Turmoil then, and look at us now.
I really wanted to speak to you besides, what Hotchkiss, that opportunity has given to you in your life. But prior to that, I do want to speak a little bit about, what you see now. And you just indicated as much. You just said as much that back then it's similar to what it is now. All right. But y'all guys were shielded, and Hotchkiss made that move through Father Kern's, right? Tell me a little bit of what this school has meant to you.
What it's meant. It gave me the confidence, to go through life. I mean, to feel like you can learn anything that's put in front of you. When we got here, we had to read 100 books over the summer. 100. And
you haven't been her in it?
Not been her. We could have, but what surprised me so much about like this library, we had the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Right.
We had the spook who sat by the door. I said, these people know more about us than we know about them. It was amazing. I never seen such a variety of books, and in a school like this, to have all these black books was amazing to me,
What about the staff?
The staff listen, I learned things that I would never learn in the public schools in New York. Okay. I mean, I learned new math. I learned all kind of stuff. It was eye opening, we were placed in a really safe, quiet environment, and the whole focus was learning, learn. Because of that, I went through life, I guess, kind of cocky. Yes, it was like, you give me something to study, I got it. That confidence would take you. It took me through life. Like I knew I could do this. I could learn that. I could whatever. I could sit up, in a meeting with CEOs and talk, and I can go back out on the street
and talk.
Yes. So that type of confidence really led me to a nice life. I enjoyed that.
That is something that was somewhat astounding to me, because I growing up in North Carolina during the Civil Rights Movement. My town, Williamston, North Carolina, was one of the strategy places that Martin Luther King and the SLDC, Southern Leadership Conference, and they used to come and strategize at one of our churches in Williamston. And we were protesting. I could throw a rock, man, and forget about it. In a bottle? A pop bottle?
You were good at that, huh?
Yeah. That aside is that, to have that opportunity that Hotchkiss presented, because from what I understand through the interviews I've done with you guys, but this is a pipeline to some of the biggest schools in the country. Primarily, you got Harvard. And where'd you go again?
Yale. I went to John Jay. I also went to NYU. And, I got a nursing degree from Bronx Community College. Okay. And like I was saying earlier in our earlier podcast, one of the reasons I excelled in nursing was because I learned new math here. Okay. They didn't have new math in the public schools in New York, but I picked it up here, and look where it took me.
Oh, the modern math or the new math?
They called it new math.
Well, I didn't have that one. I remember modern have that one.
No, they called it new math. Yes.
All right. So anything that you would like to share with us in regards, and the Walk Weekly is apolitical. We were founded on that. We don't get into politics and this and that. We don't try not to interview entertainers. Occasionally we will, because we're trying to reach the young people. Is there anything that you would like to compare? I know we try to compare and contrast, because you're doing it with the 60s now with 2020s. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's 50, 60 years, right? So as you look around from your purview, and when I say purview, I mean based on the skills that you learned, the experience, and things of that nature, how do you see the United States now?
How do I see it now? I don't see much of a change. A lot of people say we've excelled, we've
evolved.
Yes, I don't see that much. I don't see it. In fact, I think it's more prevalent now, racism, than it was back then. It's out in the open now.
Oh, yeah, it's no longer open.
I really don't. It seems like president and his administration at this point seem to want to wipe out everything that the blacks and minorities have built up. It's sad. To me,
it is sad. And I'm there with you. I was 10 years old during 64. I was 10, 65. I remember those days. Mm-hmm. I went to a segregated school until the 10th grade.
Okay.
That's when they had full integration of the school, or desegregation, whatever you want to call it. And one thing I noticed, like leaving North Carolina and migrating to New York, which everybody dreamed of going to the city if you come from the country. And one thing I did notice, and it kind of scared me, was that compare here to North Carolina back then, if you encountered a white person and y'all didn't like each other, you would say, okay, I don't like you, you don't like me, you stay over there and I'll stay over here, right? That's what we did. But coming to New York, everything was so covert, so you didn't know who was the bad guy versus the good guy.
Here, the system was based on separating everyone in New York. What's the word? I can't remember the word that they used systematically to segregate us. It was built into all the what do you call them? The whole system. It's like you if you don't have money, you can't
Live there.
do this or
Right.
whatever. If you have the money, you can do this. But we didn't have the money.
Yeah, but if you had the money within limitation, you can have all the money in the world, but there's still
Some
still in a
limitation.
box somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, but, as you said, we come from such a time that there is no, it's the same. Nothing basically changed.
Exactly.
We just have more access to more things. And another thing I want to ask you too, did you, with your children, did you encourage them to probably, participate in that program, GO program?
The GO program, I believe, only lasted for 12 years.
Okay.
There were three classes, 4 years each, or 4 summers each.
Right.
Okay. And after I think it was 77, there was no more funding for the GO program.
Yep.
So that's why it stopped. I don't have any knowledge of, but I would hope that there are more programs like this, in other areas, other countries, other cities. I don't know for sure. But taking poor kids out of, the inner city and bringing them here and opening your eyes to see what's out there.
Yeah.
I was telling my wife earlier on the way up, on Sundays, we used to have to go and intermingle with the people in the community. Okay. Every Sunday we would go out, and there was a gentleman that had about 4 of us, brought us home. And when we looked at the house, it was built around a tree. The whole house was built around a tree.
Really?
And yeah, and I couldn't believe this. I was astonished that somebody would build a house around a tree. Okay, and then on the way back home from that, they disclosed that this was their summer home. So you know what I'm saying? You could build a house around a tree, and this is
that's your summer home.
Yeah,
What has Hotchkiss, that experience and that opportunity of getting to an environment like this of higher learning, what did it give to you? What do you think it made you in terms of being a man, being a provider, and being a citizen? What did it mean to you?
It meant that, as I said prior to this, confidence to go out and just know that you can do anything you put your mind to. Okay, as long as you have something to study, a workbook, a test, anything. I love to take tests now. Yeah, I love it because it's a measure of testing what you know.
All right, y'all hear that?
Yeah, exactly. Love it. And as a young kid, I used to be anxious to get a test. When I finished Hotchkiss, it was like, I can't wait. Where's the test?
Yeah, where's the test?
Yeah, but it's just imagine. I've just had a good experience with Hotchkiss. It was really good, and it opened up a whole world. Okay, there's more than just the city. Okay, you got the country out here. I love
all the horse farms out here. You got a lot of those.
Yes. I wish I had one, but I just wish there were more programs like this, for the kids today. I have grandkids, and I wish they had the opportunities to do that. And Father Kern was the one that opened that up for us.
Well, you never know what's in life. I always tell my kids, when the train comes into the station, you got to be ready.
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
All right. So, any final words for the young generation? Prior to the millennials, I'm a boomer. You a boomer. My grandkids are, I think, alphas. So, what do you got to say to the young people, though?
Study, okay? It does pay off. In the end, it pays off. Study, be relentless. If you fail something, go back at it. just keep going back at it. Like they say, you knock on that door till you knock the door down. So hey, just put your head into it and study.
Well, we can make a motto out of that. Now, just put your head into it and study, and just keep that head down. So when you raise your head, you're gonna be in a different and better place. With God's help, of course. Okay. So I want to thank Leonard Birdsall for being here, taking the time to view us and welcome us to the Hotchkiss campus. That's where we are, folks. Boy, this is where British folks go. Man, can you look out there? You can see out there? No, well, we can give you a view of it later. But this is Walter Latham, and thanks for joining the Walt Weekly. And we will be having some more interviews here at Hotchkiss. So we'll be here all weekend. So we're looking forward to meeting the alumni. All right, and interviewing them separately and get their take on what Hotchkiss has meant to them and how they see the world through today's eyes, 2025. That's what. Thank you, Leonard. All right, take care.